You are 19 years old and your room smells like instant noodles and something electrical that you've stopped noticing. 3 monitors, a desk that cost more than your first month's rent because the desk was the one thing you decided wasn't worth saving money on. Everything else, the mattress, the chair, the single pan you use for everything, bought for the lowest price that wouldn't embarrass you if someone saw it. Nobody sees it. You made sure of that. Your roommate moved out in October. You told housing you needed the space for equipment. The real reason was simpler and harder to explain. Every conversation cost something. Every knock on the door, 20 minutes you weren't getting back, you stopped answering. Eventually, people stopped knocking. This is where it starts. Not with an idea, not with a lightning bolt of inspiration, with a room you slowly emptied of everything that wasn't the work. You don't sleep on a schedule, you sleep when the problem is solved. Some nights that's 4 a.m., some nights it's not at all. You've learned that your brain does its best work at the edge of exhaustion, in that narrow window between tired and broken, where everything obvious falls away and you can finally see the actual shape of the thing underneath. Other people call this burning out. You call it finding the signal. Your parents call twice a week. You answer once. The conversations are short, reassuring. They contain almost nothing true. You are fine, classes are good, you are eating, you will visit at Thanksgiving, you don't visit at Thanksgiving. You send a text that says something came up and you'll explain later. You stare at the screen after you send it. Your thumb hovers over the phone for a moment. Not long, just a moment. And something tightens in your chest that you don't have a name for yet. You put the phone face down on the desk. Later doesn't come for a while. You tell yourself this is temporary, that once the thing works, everything will go back to something resembling normal. You believe this the way you believe a lot of things at 19, completely and without evidence. The thing works on a Thursday in February. Not spectacularly, not in a way that announces itself. You run the test at 2:17 a.m., and the output is what you needed it to be, and you sit back in the chair that cost $40 and stare at the screen for a long time. You don't celebrate. There's nobody to call. The one person you might have called, you stopped talking to her in November. The relationship was becoming something you couldn't afford to maintain. Not because you didn't care, because you cared enough to know you were already failing at it. Always showing up halfway, always half somewhere else. You think about calling her now. Your throat does something strange. You swallow hard. You don't call. You open a new document and start writing down what comes next. The next 18 months are a different kind of disappearance. You're present enough to exist. 2 classes a week, the ones where attendance actually affects the grade. You eat, you sleep occasionally. You respond to emails within 24 hours because you've learned that silence makes people escalate. But the version of you that other people interact with is like a polite smile you give to a waiter. Warm enough, but not really you. The real version of you is in the room, in the work, in the problem that keeps getting bigger and more interesting the more of it you solve. You have 3 friends from before. One of them tells you at a party that you become a ghost. You laugh, you leave at 10 because you have something to finish. On the walk back, you think, is there someone in your life who started to look a little like a ghost too? Someone who used to be everywhere, and now you realize, when did I last actually talk to them? You think it sounds efficient, being a ghost. You drop out on a Tuesday, not dramatically. You don't make a speech or write a letter or imagine yourself on the other side of a movie moment. You fill out the form online, submit it, and go back to work. Your mother cries. You can hear it, that specific quality of silence between her words. Your father asks if you're sure, then asks again, then a third time in the same phone call, his voice doing something it doesn't usually do. You tell them both the thing you've rehearsed, that you will be okay, that this is the right decision, that you will explain everything when there's more to explain. Your mouth is dry when you say it. You realize you have been gripping the phone hard enough that your hand aches. After you hang up, you sit very still for almost a full minute. Then you go back to work. You are 21 years old, you have not been home in 14 months, and you are more certain about this decision than you have been about anything in your life. The certainty doesn't come from confidence, it comes from the work. You have seen what it can become. Nobody else has seen it yet, but you have. And that changes the math on everything, on the degree, on the timeline, on what you're willing to trade. The first real money arrives when you're 22, not 600 million, not even close, a number with 6 digits that feels surreal for approximately one afternoon and then becomes the new baseline and then starts to feel like it's not enough for what comes next. This is the thing nobody warns you about. The number that was supposed to feel like arrival feels immediately like a starting point. The goalpost moved. It moved the moment you crossed it. You didn't decide to move it. It just moved. You hire 2 people. You move out of the dorm. You're sitting in a new apartment, nicer desk, better chair, different smell. And one morning you order an espresso machine, the good kind, the one that costs $800, because you've read that top founders optimize their mornings. It arrives in a box that takes 20 minutes to unpack. You set it up, you make 1 cup, you drink it standing up, staring at your screen. You don't sit down until noon. The espresso machine stays on the counter, mostly unused. Same hours. Larger problem. Nothing else has changed. Somewhere around 24, you start deleting things. Not in one dramatic session, gradually. There's a group chat from school you stopped checking a long time ago. You don't delete it right away. First, you mute it, just for a day so it doesn't distract you. Then a week. Then you forget it exists. One evening, you scroll past it in your archive and you realize you have no idea what those people are doing with their lives. The realization lands somewhere quiet and stays there. Then the photo albums, the ones that documented a version of yourself you no longer recognize. You look at one photo for a while. Some party somewhere, you're laughing at something the camera didn't catch, and you feel a kind of vertigo, like finding an old sweater at the back of your closet. You remember wearing it. You remember it being warm, but you will never put it on again. It doesn't fit anymore. It just takes up space. So you delete it. You tell yourself this is about privacy, that what you're building requires a kind of focused silence. This is true. It's also not the whole truth. The whole truth is quieter. Looking at those photos creates a feeling you can't afford right now. So you do what you've learned to do with everything you can't afford. You let it go. You're 26 when the number crosses what you privately think of as the real threshold. Not the number you'd say in interviews, the one you only know because you checked at midnight on a Tuesday, then closed the app and went back to work. The external world has started to notice you. There are articles that get some things right and most things wrong. There are people from before who reach out with a warmth that is texturally different from the warmth that existed before. Like they have adjusted the temperature now that they know what the room is worth. You don't respond to most of them. Not out of contempt, out of a simple calculation. The honest version of that conversation would take hours. The polite version would be a lie. You have learned to prefer silence to performance. The 600 million arrives the way most things arrive in your life. On a screen, in a number, at a time when you're already thinking about something else. You're 28 years old. You're sitting in an office you designed to contain no unnecessary objects. You read the number, you read it again. You close the laptop, you go for a walk. Not because you need to clear your head, because you have learned that the moments after something significant require physical movement, that the body needs to process what the mind already knows. You walk for 40 minutes through a city that has no idea who you are. People pass you. A man sells coffee from a cart. A woman is on the phone laughing. 2 kids are arguing about something small and completely serious. Nobody looks at you. This is, you realize the thing you have been building toward without fully knowing it. Not the number. This. The ability to walk through a world that doesn't require anything from you in return. You deleted your past because your past was full of versions of yourself that other people needed you to maintain. The broke version. The struggling version. The version that was relatable because he was standing in the same place as everyone else. Every time you let someone know you were doing better, they adjusted, they needed more, they reflected a version of you that you had already moved past. Old friends are mirrors, and in every mirror you are always still the person you used to be. So you did what felt necessary. You did a kind of deep clean, the kind where you go through every room and remove everything that doesn't belong. Except when you were finished, you looked around and realized there was no furniture left, perfectly empty, perfectly clean, and completely impossible to live in. You're 28 years old. You have $600 million. No one from your past has a working phone number for you. You have 3 people you trust completely. 2 of them you met after the money. 1 of them knew you before, in the dorm during the noodles and electrical smell era, and stayed. Not because of what you became, despite what you stopped being. She never needed the performance. She just needed the actual version whenever it was available. She is the only one who has the number. You think about this sometimes on the walks, about what it means that the entire architecture of a life, the deleted accounts, the unreturned calls, the rooms emptied of everything that wasn't the work, led here to a city where no one knows your name, to a number you cannot spend, to 3 people. You don't regret the disappearance. The disappearance was necessary, the disappearance was the work, but you have started to wonder recently in these 40-minute walks that have become the only time you think about anything except the next problem, you have started to wonder if the version of you that emptied the room at 19 knew what he was trading. Not the degree, not the sleep, not the relationship you ended in November, something quieter than that. The ordinary Tuesday, the knock on the door you answer without calculating what it costs, the conversation that has no agenda, the room that smells like something human and alive and completely unoptimized. You can't buy those back. You've checked. This is not a success story. It's not a failure story either. It's the story of what happens when you treat your life like a house you're renovating, removing everything inefficient, everything that doesn't serve the plan, everything that makes the space feel full but not functional. You can end up with something extraordinary, clean lines, high ceilings, every surface exactly where it should be, and no one to sit in it with you. Look at your phone right now. Scroll through your contacts. There is one name there. Maybe you haven't texted them in a month, maybe longer. One name that if it disappeared from that list, no amount of money would make it okay. Whose number would you never delete, even for $600 million?